Hello, hello. Bl'Artagnan here with a no synergy TCC challenge. Bring Garland, Paladin Cecil, and Aerith. This fight still sucks. That hasn't changed. That said, the more familiar I got with it, the less I hate it. I still kind of can't say I enjoy it, but it's not the least enjoyable experience I've had in this game at the very least. I mean, it's easy to say that now that I'm clearing it. At the time, it was like, oh god, this sucks. But this team here makes pretty good work of it. It is going to get pretty close at the end. This turn count really is just brutal. There's no two ways around that. But we have some pretty good defensive tools here, and some solid offense as well, with Garland combined with the HP damage up from our two supports. So a tricky thing early in the fight here is not... I kept painting myself into a corner by getting super aggressive and getting them just under 90% right before they hit me with the recast, and then getting someone petrified. I was able to kind of time it right here. Garland actually did a pretty insane amount of damage to A there with his EX. But that's just something to kind of keep in mind as you're playing through this. Kind of going mindlessly it can get you in trouble if you're not careful. More so than other bosses because they cleanse so frequently. Normally, if you're looking for a threshold thing, you only have to deal with maybe 3 or so. This, like, every 10%, there's a chance that, you may cleanse while they have a recast up and get yourself blown up. So we're approaching that 80% mark, the first of those big Kieran Bear-esque thresholds. I'm trying to decide here the best way to play this, because I don't want to push either of them below 80% just yet. And I end up brave attacking there with that in mind. The goal here is to use Caius Call to deal with the 80% threshold, I think, and then to use the Golbez friend for the other two. We also have Diablo summoned to kind of serve as a backup, because the Divine Summons ignore HP damage or Brave damage reduction and can be used to break them. Not 100% on if they have the power to break all 3 of them. I don't know if at the very end you might need to do something to kind of make it work a bit better. Something I haven't used but I've been theorizing on is that you could probably use Ulti Call or Ultimisia's Call to shave them using her Gravity Shave and then use the summon to kind of guarantee it breaks, but I haven't gotten around to actually testing whether that works or not. So Pecil's going to just do some lame splash damage there, and here's Caius. Really haven't gotten a whole lot of mileage out of Caius before this, just because he takes up so many debuff slots. And I think a lot of people, myself included, pulled him because we're like, oh cool, instant break call, that sounds useful. But Doom being on the very tail end of that chain of debuffs makes it really hard to fit him on teams. Part of why I appreciate Farrah's Call is that her cool LD debuff is at the beginning of the chain, making it a lot easier to pull off. That said, I haven't really gotten a chance to use it because past few fights have not been super conducive of that call. I'm sure I'll find a time to use it later. I had a similar experience with Gabranth where I ended up finding him much more useful, like, in the weeks following pulling him than when I actually pulled him. So it's the thing to remember in this game is sometimes a character's value isn't immediately apparent when you get them, and you kind of have to learn about it later as as a different fight presents you with a different puzzle. Go ahead and chunk him once again. Something I love about this team is, we have 2 pretty good sources of battery with Pecil and Aerith, so Garland's EX is usually hitting for quite a bit of damage. It's a really fun EX to use, my goodness. Got to be a little bit careful with Aerith because she's our only source of consistent debuffs. Pecil only gets a debuff on his EX and his LD, so making sure that she's able to debuff, apply her LD debuff at the appropriate times is important when they have that recast up. Unlike most fights though, since I'll be swapping Aerith out for Golbez, I can actually be pretty liberal with her LD usage. I find in many fights she tends to burn out a bit too early, but this is not one of them. Yeah. Would have liked to use that EX on A because of the HP damage up, but I really wanted B to get shaved there because it had so much Brave. Yeah, another nice thing about this team is all the passive defense down auras between Aerith and Golbez, plus the Enchant Imperil from Pecil, but those two in particular, it's nice because there's so much aura going on here that I don't need to worry about them cleansing as often as they do. It's like, okay, whatever you cleansed, big deal. That ended up being perfect there. I didn't want to push him below the threshold, and we ended up getting lucky and not doing so. So now we can go ahead and let him use his recast on Golbez there. It hurts, but thanks to Cecil, it doesn't kill, and we have two good healers on the team, and now we can actually push him below the threshold without getting blown up. When I say blown up, I mean petrified for 2 turns, which is functionally being blown up in this stage because the turn count is so restrictive. But yeah, the defense down auras plus the HP damage from Pecil means that we're hitting pretty consistently hard. I know some folks have been enjoying using Terra in this stage. I personally didn't like it when I tried it because she runs out of gas so hard at the end of the fight. Like, she just starts hitting for such little damage that I didn't really feel it was worth trying to make work. Of note, I don't have Young to pair with her, so that probably makes a big difference. Luckily, I'm seeing people are using Squall, people are using Golbez, Garland. Like we have a few options to get through this. Even if, as I've said before, it's not the most fun thing to do. So now we are just about there. Getting them to the 50% mark. We got the Saint's Fall to shave them a little bit more. I think it's probably about time for Aerith to... oh my god. Well, that's going to be no good for the HP requirement. So luckily, we can just instant heal and then go ahead and bring in Golbez. I gotta say, this fight, a lot of people have been, I think, getting tripped up by these, the Kieran Bear thing is what I've been calling it, the Brave damage immunity plus gains thing, and a lot of it really can be handled with with a sufficiently damage heavy team by using just a Golbez friend right before 50, as I'm doing here, and going wild and pushing them below the 29% as well. You still need to bring something for the 80%, but I guess it can't be perfect, right? Going ahead and using our burst here. I think I've said this before, but I appreciate that the TCC challenges are now accepting burst weapons for the non-extreme runs, because Lufenias are getting more and more to the point where burst weapons are not required, but like they're moving from the realm of luxury into the realm of I don't want to say necessity, because people are still doing it without the bursts, but I think on average having the burst, the average player is going to need the burst to get through it as opposed to not. At least that's my read on it. It could just be that we're dealing with a couple fights that are like that. Then again, it could just be that I'm a bad player. I can't rule that out. I'm certainly lazy enough that I'm not really interested in doing no burst runs anymore, just because the time requirements needed for it. So you see here we are quite successfully getting them down to the 29% threshold with Golbez still on the field. His LD effect does tremendous damage, which is awesome. And so with this, we've basically dodged the last of their tricky mechanics. The only thing I really need to watch out for at this point would be, and that's weird, Diablos didn't break that guy. The only thing I've noticed when I summon, weird things happen to the turn order, to the break order. It's not consistent, which is kind of annoying. But in any case, the only thing that we really need to watch out for at this point is some errant situation where they get the recast up and then I make them cleanse and then they use the recast, like something stupid like that. Can't say I'm too worried about it in this case because we're running with two of the best burst effects we can use in this stage. And just look at this. My god. 500k on each of them just about with a single LD use. That's grotesque. Love it. And again, synergy, keeping in mind synergy bias here, Golbez is designed to, or this fight is designed in some ways for Golbez to look good, so I'm not letting this inform my opinion of him overall, but it feels good to use in the moment, I'll say that much. Now, you saw there I used the Paladin Cecil's skill 2 right, instead of using the EX back there. That was because I knew we were going to get the cleanse, so I wanted to be able to reapply the Imperil here to make sure we had a debuff on them. And again, it doesn't look like it's going to matter, but I'm just trying to play it safe here because the turn count's getting a little bit hairy. And with that in mind, we're going to bring Caius back in to apply a defense down and get some free splash damage. Because at this point, we've just about sealed it out. Seal eviled it out? I don't know. There we go. Finishing it in style with the Garland EX. Boom. 450k. That feels good. There you have it. TCC challenge with the burst, with Paladin Cecil, who has been really popular here, but I enjoyed it. Anyway, I hope you did too. Consider liking, consider subscribing, you know the drill. See you next time. Adios.